to 60-minute access of Burnout Paradise Remastered. We are playing this on the Xbox One X to do a comparison with the 360 version that's on the system as well.
That's going to be way too loud.
It's going to be way too loud?
Yeah, look at your PC's volume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this game is loud.
Yeah.
That's why I was playing it, so... but yeah, this has the OG game, all the DLC, upscaled to 4K, 60 FPS.
It's everything you want, baby.
Yeah, and not only that, but hey, guess when they announced this, I went ape shit.
Yeah,
This is one of my favorite games ever. It has been literally 10 years exactly since a new Burnout game.
It's not a new Burnout game, but it's so cool that we're getting a
Burnout game. I'll take it.
Right. Well, and you never know, you know.
I've been in the wasteland for so long.
Fucking, like I said, you never know. Like, this game does well enough, maybe they'll put out a new one. Maybe they'll do a Burnout.
I think that's the entire reason for this thing's existence.
Yeah, they do this shit all the time.
Like, I think that this is like...
I think I would turn it down just a little bit more, honestly. I just don't want it to be louder than us.
I don't think it's going to be louder than us.
Alright.
Yeah, we're above it. But I'll do a couple more passes.
Yeah, just to be safe. I mean, we love this song, probably.
I love this song.
But
I do love music.
it's a classic. It's a classic. Axl Rose is kind of a dick, but
yeah.
Whatever. I mean,
whatever.
What rock and roll star isn't? I think it's like part of the thing, isn't it? Like, you do rock, you're kind of got to be a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, at least the kind of rock he is.
Right. What rock?
Yeah, so...
Isn't he like the singer of AC/DC now? Or some shit?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Wow.
So,
what a world.
Weird.
What a world.
So, I should probably explain what this game is, for the uninitiated.
Which is kind of me. Like, I've played Burnout, but I'm not the biggest fan of the series by any stretch of the imagination. So.
I didn't become a fan until 3. I thought 1 and 2 were okay, but like 3 is what really brought me in.
When we were kids, Anthony was like insanely invested in the series. Like it was gross.
Man,
the only video games. Okay, so for someone as like nerdy as Anthony is, when we were growing up, he never watched anime really, and he didn't really play a whole lot of video games. Like, he had a PS2 and he had a collection of video games, but he basically only played this and Grand Theft Auto. Like, specifically Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I remember...
I mean, at least he had taste.
Right.
Those are both great games.
Yeah, but those are games that, like, you know, in the early 2000s, like, if you didn't have those games sitting on your shelf, you were probably a fucking loser. So...
Yeah, like, everyone had a copy of Grand Theft Auto lying around, I feel.
If it wasn't San Andreas, it was Vice City.
I actually had 3 for a long
Oh yeah,
time.
3 too. They were we cycled through them. Okay, so I had
3 until like I did eventually get San Andreas.
Yeah, San Andreas I think is like the one that everybody thinks of. Probably when it comes to Grand Theft Auto, it's either like I don't know. That whole series is kind of legendary, so it's hard to pick like an iconic title.
Yeah.
But I think San Andreas and Vice City are like kind of the titles.
Up until 5.
Up until 5, and even then like 5 is like contemporary. So it's yeah, I would say 5 is definitely one of them. Fucked him up. And that's the whole point of this game.
Yeah.
Fuck shit up.
So this one's a little different from all the other Burnouts because it's an open world game.
Yeah.
And as an open world game, they give you there will be occasionally a badass car out and about, and you take them down and you keep the car.
Yeah.
As other people saw me smashing gates, and it's like 42 out of
gets you actual points. You know when you're like driving along the road and someone's like, hit that guy, 50 points.
Yeah.
That's this game.
Basically.
That's this game.
Like throughout the world, there are super jumps and billboards and gates to
go gates.
Yeah. To go crash. That's kind of like the collectible, along with super jumps and like style point stuff.
You just also can't destroy your car. Like, you have to destroy as much as your car can take, pretty much.
So, gonna do an event here. There's multiple types of events. We'll show one of each off. What this one is called Marked Man.
This doesn't even look like a remaster of like an Xbox 360 game. This just looks like a fucking
like the
it's,
new game. Yeah, like
it's beautiful. It's definitely it would be on the lower end. I kind of want to see what they would. I'm curious to see what.
Yeah, like I was very impressed at the remaster because I played through this on 360, PS3, and PC. I really like this game, and I really did think that like, oh, they're just gonna port up the PC version and like make it 4K, and then they did
cleaned the whole game up.
Yeah, they put better
textures, better reflections,
better reflections, better effects.
Yeah.
They yeah, it still has like some 360 game trademarks for sure.
Yeah, the HUD is very like 360.
Yeah, like the way the world looks and models is very 360.
Yeah.
But for the most part,
I would be super excited to see what they would do with this format on a current gen.
Yeah, like I would love to see an Xbox One X PS4 version of this.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be super cool. Look at all those scratches and everything though, like, holy shit.
Yeah, like, and this game already looked good at the time.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing the first, like, trailers for this game and being blown away. Like, I was like, it looks so real. Now, obviously, it doesn't look as real.
Yeah.
Everybody says that.
When you sit down and compare it to, like, Forza 7,
well,
not gonna play.
I mean, I fucking sincerely doubt anybody was like playing Ocarina of Time or Final Fantasy VII and going, wow, these games look so real. But there had to be a point where everybody thought they looked super fucking good.
Oh
right?
yeah, like yeah. Unless you were like, the only people who didn't think Ocarina of Time looked great were like on PC, and that's because they got to see like, holy shit, look at Half-Life.
Yeah, but even at that point, well, was Half-Life 1 around the same time as Ocarina of Time?
Literally the same year.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that.
That's kind of like,
gaming's weird.
Well, it's because like back then the PC, like it's not like now where like, yeah, PC has like technological advantages, but like
it's fucking expensive.
But you can get kind of close with consoles.
Well, and even beyond that, like,
and right now, like because of cryptos, like the market for PC gaming is weird.
It's not only weird, it's like, it's intimidating. Like, back in the day, like, all PCs were kind of fucking expensive as shit. But everybody had, like, a home computer that you could play a game on. Like, I didn't... When I was...
Yes and no.
Well, okay, when I was a kid, I remember distinctly, and obviously it's not fucking Half-Life 1 level in terms of, like, what it took. But I had, like, the first 3 Harry Potter games they released on PC. Yeah. And nowadays my computer, like, proportionally my computer wouldn't be able to handle the shit, that kind of thing, like scaled up. It was like the first, it was like Sorcerer's Stone, the Quidditch one, and Chamber of Secrets.
Right, but I think part of that was because those were designed to be like optimized for that kind of stuff. I remember.
Well, yeah, for sure.
I can tell you about the history of PC gaming and how like right now is probably the easiest time ever.
Oh, for sure.
Because like, one, it's way easier to get resources.
Well, you can. You're building everything yourself.
Yeah, well, you don't have to do that.
Yeah. I imagine the market's a lot better for it though now.
So the actual building was way harder back then.
That's what I mean.
Like, not only do you have more resources now, it's just that there's like way less complicated shit to go on.
Well, and I imagine the market's bigger too.
Yeah, that too. But always the PC, like, the reason, like, back then, like, you would look at Ocarina of Time and then look at, like, Half-Life 1 and, like, see a big gap is because, like, PC was still at that point where, like, that's where, like, the shit of, like, oh, you need to upgrade your graphic card every year comes up.
Right.
Like, it was back then, not now. Like, I'm gonna be on year 2 of this graphics card as of November.
And it's still fine.
And it's still, like, maxing everything out. And Jared is going to be on year 6 of his.
Right, and Jared's still
and just now, Jared has found games that are finally like
not like super fun with his.
Yeah, like they're finally dropping below like where they should be.
Yeah.
Like it's
Frame rate's also a lot more important now than it was back in the day. Like.
Oh yeah.
Or rather, like.
You play it like Ocarina of Time on the 64 ran at like 23 frames per second.
Right. There are some games like Final Fantasy VII probably ran at like 12.
Yeah, because it was like turn-based and like the VA versus like.
Well, now like with e-gaming and esports or esports and everything else, e-gaming. With esports and everything else, it's like being competitive and gaming has become a much bigger thing. Not that it wasn't there originally. It obviously was. Like Counter-Strike has been a thing forever. StarCraft, Warcraft,
yeah, like
Dota, like all this shit has been around for fucking since the dawn of time. It feels like fucking Minesweeper back in the day.
But yeah, like
Master Blaster,
but
Master.
Like you look at like Quake 2, compared to like console games at the time. Like,
right.
Same thing with like Quake 3 and Half-Life.
Right. Consoles are at the strong disadvantage of like making everything compact and cheap. Yeah. Like.
So part of the reason that this generation has had to do these mid-generation refreshes is like if you want to like really get the most out of them, is because that these things launched like powered in my opinion.
Well, for sure. I remember when they launched, everybody was like, well, first of all, the Xbox One probably had like one of the worst launch like
promotions ever. Like
yeah, just like the press surrounding that was fucking horrible.
Like to put this in perspective, the reason that these consoles are doing well right now from the like still being able to run games perspective is because of very good optimization.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Well, I think so. That falls in part on the game. Obviously,
yeah,
like the game
devs and whatnot.
The devs have to optimize the game in order to be able in order for it to continue running on these pieces of hardware. The other disadvantage consoles have, like with a PC, you can just swap parts out.
Yeah.
Once your graphics card dies, you can get a new graphics card. Once your hard drive starts to get like too full, you just fucking get a bigger one.
Crypto miners just completely destroy the market.
Which, could happen, but I kind of don't think so.
Dude, like right now, people are like, I got a couple people asking me like, I want to build a PC, what should I do? You should probably buy a pre-built right now.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, you told me the same thing, but I'm also sitting here thinking about it like, I don't know.
You can still crack open pre-builds and work on it.
How much longer do you think the bubble on cryptocurrency is going to last?
That's the problem. Like, if we do that, I'd be like, wait or stay. Like, that's the big issue. Like,
I bet you could find statistics that would like help predict that sort of thing, though, because like, I don't know. I feel like by now everybody's expected the like tech bubble to burst, and I that's not gonna happen.
God, how bad is that?
It's super fucking cool. No, I mean, it's just, in my opinion, it's just not gonna happen. Like, we're always gonna need technology, and it's always gonna advance, and people are always gonna be fucking bored out of their mind. We're always gonna need something to do. Gaming has already made that a thing. Like, I think we might have seen a bit of a pop with VR, and even that's still progressing. It's just not progressing with the same like speed that everybody expected it to.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that like the big advantage of consoles always is up until this generation, they would typically launch with insane hardware.
Right.
Like to put this in perspective, the 360 launched with a tri-core processor back when the best consumer gaming PC
had like a dual core.
Had a dual core.
Yeah.
Like that you wanna know why that generation lasted so long? It was the recession, and then they put insane ass hardware.
Right. And it was all like, well, and that again, it's like affordable. Like
this generation, like when they launched.
I just remember that the PS3 definitely launched at $700 and was not affordable.
600.
Was it 600? I remember 700, but I think I
very much remember the meme because at the time I was very like into the GameSpot forums, and you couldn't go 10 feet in System Wars without someone saying $599 US.
Right. Oh yeah, and then the 360 launched at like 400 or something like
400.
that.
I remember that was my first like big grown man purchase.
Yeah.
Like I remember like I worked like at the time I was 14 going on 15. I had this summer job and I just busted my ass.
Yeah.
All summer. Combined that with my good grade money.
Yeah.
Because my parents would give me, if I got all A's and B's, they would give me like $100.
I think we got our first 360 because I have 3 younger brothers for some background, and so everything we had in terms of like game console we shared.
And you guys could also pool money to do that. Though.
Oh no, hell no.
You guys never did that?
We didn't get allowances. We didn't have the money. Like my
But, like,
parents just didn't have the money
birthdays
for
or,
it
like-
or anything. So what would happen is like, okay, so we got our first PS2. Again, I have 3 younger brothers, and them shits broke everything they touched.
By the way, that was a race for everyone.
That was what a race looks like. Anyway, yeah. So my brothers broke everything they touched. Not that I didn't contribute, but like, holy shit, we went through like 4 or 5 PS2s.
Like, let me tell you, my cousins.
Yeah.
3 boys, 1 girl, all
Right.
live in the same house.
Yeah.
It is Mad Max.
It is. Well, and okay, so I've always been really protective of like my movies and my games. I always keep them in their
Same.
cases.
Same.
It fucking drives me up the goddamn wall. One of the things that, like, up until fairly recently, I have a younger brother who collects movies now, and he takes very good care of his movies now. When my 3 younger brothers were kids, they used to do the shit of like leaving the disc out, like reading side up, with like the label face down. And they would just leave it out on the table for fucking weeks, and it would piss me the fuck off. Like another super annoying practice. Don't ever do this, or I fucking hate you for life. Is they would like pull the disc out of the console, pull the next game they were gonna play out of that case, put that game in, and then put the game that was in there in the case of the other game.
Oh, that is a crime.
It's fucking stupid.
That
You
is
don't
a
need
crime
to.
against humanity.
You don't need to do that. You could just pull the other case down.
Yeah. Well, so
It's
one
the easiest
one practice
thing.
that I started after like when I started loaning people games
Yeah.
was I like went to Blockbuster and bought like some movies.
Yeah.
I was just kind of willing to like give to people or just have loose.
Yeah.
And then use those DVD cases as like loaner cases.
I've had
Because people will fuck up your cases.
I've had some shit like that. I used to do it when I was
I
younger.
still have loaner cases.
Yeah.
To this
do you?
day.
That's good. That's good. When I was younger, sometimes you would go to GameStop or Blockbuster or whatever, and you would buy used games and used movies specifically, and you'd get the cases and they'd be fucking broken. So I would just trade the cases out for like. I also fucking hate rental movie cases. I'm so glad movie rental places aren't a thing anymore, because the cases for that shit, it's the ugliest fucking thing on the planet.
It is.
They're sturdy.
That they are meant to take an ass.
Yeah, but they're
Because
fucking
people
hideous.
are dirtbags.
Yeah, but they're fucking hideous. Like, the worst thing about a movie rental place would be like going to Blockbuster and renting a fucking DVD and then it not working at all because the last person to rent it was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I don't think they checked them.
So I have a friend who worked there, and they did, but there's no way they can get to like thoroughly look at everything.
Right, you can't watch the whole movie. That's like 2 hours of your time.
Yeah, like
You should probably just pop it in and make sure the disc.
Yeah, you would just like you look at the disc, see it's unscratched, like pop a couple of them in.
See if they read.
To see if they read, if they were kind of iffy.
Yeah.
If they did, you wouldn't know you did.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I can't really blame them because they were, I think they were like $6 an hour.
Right.
Like, and then like that job, you were basically getting paid to like organize shit and watch movies.
Well, yeah, which sounds fucking great. If you're working a real person job where you have to like work long hours and sometimes you. So I will admit, sometimes having a real person job, sometimes I miss just like kicking it all day in a bookstore.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie to you. Every now and then, I'm like, man, you wanna be great? going back to Grave Shift, where all I had to do was play Heroes of the Storm and
Right. Right.
Like it's not often. Like I actually like my job for the most part. I like how when you further upgrade your license, it looks less and less shitty.
Yeah. That is a nice touch. That is a nice touch. The whole like production design of this game is very like late 2000s, early 2010s, like grunge, like alt rock, fucking grunge textures everywhere. Like nowadays, it would be like very sleek, probably like somewhat lo-fi, vaporwavy. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I feel like if you made Burnout Paradise now, if they just made a new game, a new Burnout game, they would do like lo-fi.
Man, I need to show you the one.
80s textures. It'd be like watching Drive with Ryan Gosling.
I need to show you the one from, I believe it's called Revenge from 2005. Oh man, it totally is that. Like,
It's
it's
that?
a very similar vibe to that.
Like the 80s
Not 80s,
throwback.
but like really like dark and like
Oh.
kind of like just has like a lot of dark reds and yellows. And, like,
Yeah.
has a mood about it.
Okay.
Versus this, which is kind of like
It's like upbeat, like fucking.
late 2000s LA, like
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I definitely think we would be in like a fucking weird 80s throwback thing this entire time with like lots of neon colors and you know, like fucking throwback textures and stuff like that. It wouldn't be this. The HUD would be a lot more simple too, I think.
I need to show off a move.
If there is a HUD.
If there's a HUD.
Well, I mean, games are just like getting rid of HUDs.
Yeah, which that shit's. I remember like that was a big selling point for the first Dead Space.
Yeah.
Like the first Dead Space, they're like, "Look, man, you don't have a HUD. Your health bar's on his back," and I'm like, I remember like listening to that interview, and I'm like, okay.
One of the like shittiest things was like,
Oh shit, fuck yeah.
I forgot the first game I like played that like just didn't have a health bar. I just remember it really fucking pissing me off because I couldn't tell
When you were dying, I
when
want
I
to say it
was
was like
dying.
Call of Duty for me.
It was some sort of
yeah, it
shooter
was
or some shit.
It was COD 2, like Call of Duty 2 did that.
Yeah, it was
in my
the
case.
only way you could tell you were dying was like when the screen started turning red, and by that point you were already fucking dead.
That became a real trendy shooter for the longest time.
I know it's frustrating to me. That's why I didn't. Or that's probably one of the like contributing factors as to why I didn't play shooters.
Gears did that.
Yeah, Gears did it.
Halo has a health bar still.
Yeah, I'm
It
so
does.
fucking glad. I was gonna say I'm so glad Halo still has a health bar.
I think like that was just something they couldn't get rid of. Because,
Well, it's your overshield more than
Yeah.
anything else. It's not really your health bar.
this is the mode where you just gotta keep murdering folks.
Yeah, you don't really have a health bar in this either.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because this it tells you when you're like one more crash away from you done.
You can also look like. You can also tell.
Yeah.
You can also tell. God damn. I hate when enemies don't have health bars. I hate that's like in some games that's like a.
Oh, dude.
I'm not thinking of like specific examples right now.
It's not
but,
even, for me, it's not enemies, it's bosses.
yeah.
That's
well,
what I hate. Like, when you go into a boss and it's like no health bar, I'm like,
For some games, it's like you have to unlock the ability to see your enemy's health or whatever, and I get the point in that,
yeah, like, even then,
but
though,
it's
like,
still frustrating.
yeah, like, that's actually one thing I always really loved about World of Warcraft is, like,
What game am I thinking of that does that? There's like a specific game I'm thinking of. I think it's a Japanese game.
by the way, I played some OG Ninja Gaiden on backwards compatibility.
Oh, like the older Xbox
OG,
ones?
yeah, because they're now doing original Xbox games on here too.
Yeah.
Which they don't do Microsoft.
Right.
But
I thought you
and-
meant like Nintendo.
no.
That shit was fucking hard.
That shit was hard.
That shit was merciless.
God, this is fun, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm putting it.
You're having a gay old time.
Yeah, man.
You're a Flintstone.
Let me tell you all about having gay old time.
You would be able to. I have a picture of you on my computer as Fred Flintstone. And
Why
I don't
do you
remember.
have
I
that?
don't remember why. I think I photoshopped it as a joke for a video, and then it was the gingerbread video.
Oh, right.
We made some Flintstones joke, and then I photoshopped a picture of your face onto Fred Flintstone from the movie.
Fair enough. That's an interesting.
I'll have to send that to you.
Interesting way to do things. And
Keep
I
your eyes
did
open
not.
for the Katano Hydrus custom driving around the streets. If you see
Oh,
it,
wow.
shut it down to add it to your car collection.
We don't want to go to DLC Island yet.
You should go to DLC Island. Why?
We're good.
He's like, fuck that island.
I don't want to start cracking into that when I have so much regular islands to do. Are you like that where you won't go to DLC? I won't touch DLC until I have like gotten really bored of the main game.
I maybe not really bored of the main game.
The only exception for me is like, oh shit.
Nearly ate shit.
The only exception for me is like Mass Effect, where it affects story shit.
For me, the main thing is like, have I beaten the main game yet? Like, I don't know. With Arkham Knight, I didn't touch any of the DLC. Well, I didn't get the season pass. I only had the like pre-order DLC, but I didn't touch any of the pre-order DLC until I had like the perfect ending.
For that one, I got the. I played through the like DLC that came with the pre-order, like you did.
Yeah.
And then the PC version was unbelievably cheap with all the DLC. Like it was like $8 for the game and all of its DLC. And I was like, well, even if this runs like ass on PC, it can't be that bad. First off, my PC apparently has enough hardware to where like it just brute forces it to run well.
Right.
Which is nice.
That is cool.
I definitely could see how like that is a beautiful and horrible thing about PC gaming is like, well, if you got the hardware, you can make this happen.
Yeah. We got the hardware, and then a lot of the times, like, okay,
like,
so fucking Arkham Knight again, for an example, like it fucking debuted as a complete and utter shit show on the PC.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I distinctly remember, like, whenever someone would give me shit for being predominantly a console gamer, they're like, because it happened around the same time, I think, like, Mortal Kombat X came out and also debuted completely shit on PC, and
it was a real good back-to-back.
There were a few of the like AAA games that were coming out that just like weren't ready for PC, that were like launching for PC.
Which is why like nowadays like
it's a lot better.
They delay it if anything. Like
yeah.
Monster Hunter got delayed to like
15 didn't get a PC release until over a year later.
Yeah.
And now it's probably like the way to play
it is
that
like
game.
the premiere version.
But I remember like people would give me shit for like being predominantly a console gamer and not having a gaming PC or whatever, and they'd be like, well, good luck running your hardware that's like shittier, and I'd be like, well, good luck not being able to play any of the fucking games that come out, because
I mean,
fucking shit, dude.
So here's my thing, like in my case about Arkham Knight, it's like it ran perfectly. Same about Nick's ran. But Nick and I also have like a computer Batman would probably own.
Right. Well, and then even beyond that, I think it's I think at the time it was less like the computer you were running and more so like
the game was coded like shit.
Yeah, the game was coded like shit.
I can tell you for like
I was never gonna get that game on PC. Even if I had a gaming PC, like the Arkham series is traditionally to me a console gaming experience. There's no fucking reason for me to like go out of my way to switch to PC to have the better graphics and the better frame rate or whatever, because it's like I like playing it on my PS4 on my TV with my controller.
But you can totally play it on your TV with your controller like we got the PC.
I know I could, but like when I think PC gaming, as someone who is not a PC gamer, mind you, when I think PC gaming, I think like competitive online multiplayer. I think like, you know, I don't know. To me, it just seems like a waste of the PC's potential to like run a console game like that, as opposed to a game like Overwatch, which would require like the higher frame rates and the, you know, the more powerful processing. With 15, it's different because they did like an entire remaster specifically for PC.
In my case, I basically have two phrases. It comes down to the game. if it is a game that is like a technical showcase, like Arkham Knight was.
Yeah, I can see that.
Very pretty game. No! God damn it!
Did you fuck
I
up?
crashed right like I was up to the floor. Fuck me.
In Paradise City, let me tell you,
If it's like a technical showcase, like in Arkham Knight was at the time.
It still looks really good.
Real good.
Yeah.
I'll plug my PC version. You'll be like, damn.
No, I'm sure. I've seen it. I've seen it on a high-end PC. My point isn't necessarily that it like isn't a better experience. My point is that I just prefer the console experience for a game like that.
Yeah, which understandable.
If you had Breath of the Wild on a PC versus on the Switch, I would always play the Switch version.
So in my case, that's where an interesting discussion starts, because then you're talking about fidelity versus portability, which is exactly why like when Sonic. That's exactly why when like Sonic Mania came out, I very much bought it on Switch.
Yeah, I think for me it's also like playing it. Okay, first of all, I remember when I was a young warthog and the PS2 was like relevant and everything like that. Everybody wanted the fucking new Zelda game to be cross-platform because nobody had a fucking GameCube, I guess.
I had a fucking GameCube.
I had the fuck out of the GameCube, but I remember I had friends who only had like a PS2 or an Xbox.
That was most people. Most people I knew only had a PS2.
Yeah, and they were like, I want the new
me,
Zelda on the PS2 so that I can only play, because I don't have a GameCube, and it's bullshit that it only comes out on that.
And then like me, Quinn, and Matt all had original Xboxes because we were like giant nerds.
I had a PS2 and a GameCube, but like my whole fucking take on that back in the day. Okay, another thing too was like when Xbox 360 was relevant. Like I remember the Wii was not super popular at that point, and the Wii U had come out.
Huge.
The Wii launched huge, but it didn't continue huge. It didn't carry on huge, and so
it didn't keep like amongst our crowds. Yeah, but like that thing is like the second best-selling console ever.
Oh no, I know, because it was like and that was the problem, was like hardcore gamers didn't want a game console geared towards family gaming, whereas your moms and your grandmas were like, I liked the Wii. I thought it was a fun console.
I loved it.
I remember
you
all
want
of
to talk about why there's not going to be a new Sin and Punishment though? It's because the Wii version sold like shit.
Yeah, but I mean like getting back to what I was saying, like nobody I knew people with a Wii, but it wasn't like everybody's favorite console, and a lot of the people I knew just didn't fucking get one.
That's interesting because like,
well, they didn't get one until Smash, pretty much. Let me finish my thing here.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to fucking buy the Wii, but everybody knew that the next Zelda game was going to come out on the Wii, and it was going to be a Wii exclusive. This was before Skyward Sword was even announced. I remember hearing like 5 or 6 people in my circle be like, I wish Nintendo would let other developers use their IPs.
That's always been a thing.
It's always been a fucking thing. And my personal take on it is I will never play unless I have to, unless Nintendo fucking stops making consoles, which is probably never going to happen.
I mean, you would hope.
You would hope. I don't see it happening. If it does, whatever.
If we got 2 Wii U's back to back,
right.
Well, this might have been a very different conversation we would be having.
Right.
You'd be like, well, the Switch has been a massive failure.
Nintendo's always been pretty good about bouncing back, though. Like it's never been like.
It's never 2 in a row.
Yeah. And so my whole take on it is, if there's ever a time where Nintendo does the Sega thing and stops making consoles and switches entirely to game dev, and I have to fucking play my Zelda games and my Mario games on a fucking third-party console, then I will. But otherwise, no matter what happens to their IPs, and no matter if they start like developing cross-platform or not, I will always play Zelda on a fucking Nintendo console, and I would never want it any other way.
Well,
I am a traditionalist.
Their games are so specific to their hardware that they have to.
Well, and beyond that, I'm not even talking about like the fucking hardware specs or anything. I'm talking like...
No, I'm saying that like they make shit that like runs best on their weird fucking controllers.
Yeah.
And their like strange ass hardware.
How fucking wrong would it feel to play Breath of the Wild with an Xbox 360 controller and not on the Switch gamepad? Like, how wrong would it feel to like let's say they started doing ports of their older shit, and you just like started playing. To me, it's already weird to play Ocarina of Time on the 3DS versus the N64 just because of the controller feel. Let alone like I like the Ocarina of Time port on the 3DS a lot.
So do I actually probably
I think it's better than the original.
Preferred way to play.
Yeah, I agree. It just still feels weird to me to not have that third like penis jutting out of the controller.
That fucking weird ass.
What a weird fucking thing that it. But
that entire controller was built around Mario 64.
It was, yeah, it was.
They even said we made this Mario 64.
Well, yeah, they had to add the fucking C stick to it in order to like accommodate for Mario 64's weird controls because at the time it was a bizarre ass game. But I definitely, I don't know. Again, like, it's like playing Final Fantasy on an Xbox. You'll never catch me doing that. I know Final Fantasy debuted on Nintendo and then went to Sony, but my definitive experience for Final Fantasy has always been on PlayStation and PC, and I would feel weird playing it on an Xbox. It would be weird to see like the reaction command be A instead of X.
But in my case, it's like there are a couple franchises like that, but I'm at the point where
Bronson.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
Your maid. This fucking like copyright infringement soundtrack.
Oh no! Literally by a hair.
No, I mean like ultimately it's fucking weird as shit to play Sonic on a Nintendo console. Even though I think that the best way to play Sonic Mania is on the Switch. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, so like for me it very much depends on the game.
Yeah.
Because like Sonic Mania was totally available on PC, which is where I played like most things.
It was available on everything.
But
it was just an easy.
But I chose the Switch because I like thought that'd be a good portable hook.
Oh hell yeah.
Versus like I don't know, this, which is I wanted on the most high fidelity thing possible.
Well, this is a graphics game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they didn't have a PC version launching at launch, so I was like, all right, take the X version.
Right. And I agree with you there. Again, I think it's more so a legacy thing than it is anything else for me.
That's never been a thing for me. Like,
for me, for me specifically, I'm referring to like Nintendo's IPs and.
That's a very specific use case, though.
Well, okay. Another example would be like I wouldn't want to play like Sly Cooper or Ratchet and Clank on an Xbox because those are Sony IPs. And I wouldn't want to play Halo on it. I remember that was another fucking conversation that got brought up all the time. Like, all the time in my circles.
Yeah,
it was like, can I play Halo on PlayStation? It's like, it's such a Microsoft, like... Halo 2 is literally the reason why I think Xbox is still around.
Xbox Live was huge.
Yeah, Xbox Live was huge.
I played nothing but Halo 2.
Every single person that I know that owned an Xbox had Halo 2.
Yeah.
Like, more people I know had Halo 2 than the first Halo.
Yeah. And also Halo 2 was very revolutionary. Like, you know that party system that the consoles themselves use?
The matchmaking system, yeah.
The matchmaking system, like that
they created that shit.
That was like all Halo 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like all Halo 2 being like, here.
We have to figure out a way to make multiplayer on console viable.
Because server browsers on here just do not.
No, they don't.
Like, I remember, like, they kind of worked. And so, let me tell you, the early days of Xbox Live were very good.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I remember, like, OG Xbox Live was this weird, like, every game ran differently. The only unification was your name and your phone.
Yeah.
That was kind of it. And then some games supported voice messaging. So like, if I was playing Halo and you were playing Splinter Cell, you could send me a voice message that if the game supported voice messaging, I could listen to you tell me to come play Splinter Cell.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you prefer? Because okay. Again, like everyone in my circles was like constantly like, I wish they had these games on this console. I wish they had this game on that console. And like, I've never been that butthurt about console exclusives, I've never felt that like pressured to buy a new console just for one game or whatever. Like,
so let me tell you.
Okay. So for example, Dimitri fucking hates that there are console exclusives because he's the only person that plays exclusively Xbox in our friend group. He is the only person that does not have a PS4 in his possession and plays exclusively Xbox because he doesn't have one. And so, like, he's been talking for years about getting a PS4, but I think mostly he's just burned by the idea that, like, certain games he has to get on PS4.
But, like, there are certain games he has to, they have to get on the front end.
Well, but nobody he knows plays those games. That's the thing. Okay. And so...
Dimitri, give me a call, man. I'm playing Gears.
Well, beyond that, like, who fucking cares? For me, it's like, it's ultimately a thing of, like, okay, he thinks it's stupid, for example, that the Final Fantasy VII Remake is debuting on PS4 before it comes to Xbox. Yeah. It eventually comes to Xbox, yeah, but it's coming out to PS4 first.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Sony paid to make that happen.
I think it's on the one hand, I can see why he would think that's dumb. On the other hand, it happens both ways all the time. Yeah. And like Rise of the Tomb Raider came out on Xbox first.
Early, and that game's awesome.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like, you know, there are perks and advantages to each of these consoles. Like,
the other thing again, for me personally, it's like yeah, Final Fantasy is cross-platform now, but it's so weird to me to think about Final Fantasy VII on Xbox because it's such a PlayStation title in my head. Just because every single memory I have associated with Final Fantasy VII is either is pretty much the PlayStation. Like, I played all of the like spin-off games on PlayStation consoles. I bought that game on every single PlayStation console that I could, barring PS2 because they just didn't release it on that. And even then, I had Dirge of Cerberus, and I probably watched my.
I think that, like, I understand why people like. They want it to be more like the Blu-ray player, DVD player experience where, like, I get all movies.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, like, these consoles need ways to differentiate each other.
Well, yeah, that's my major thing on it is, like...
And, like, I do think that the future he wants is coming.
Sure.
Especially with, like...
There's always going to be IPs, though.
Yeah, especially with, like... Microsoft recently with their Play Anywhere program and their like
I don't see a future in which like I don't see a future in which like all the Sony IPs like Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper and Jack and Daxter and all that. I don't see them going to Xbox.
It all depends on how the transition to the next set of these boxes.
I agree and I disagree. I think it's
because, like, let's say that PS5 or whatever the fuck they call it comes out cold, like very similar to the Xbox One did.
Yeah. But Xbox still has Halo.
Yes. Yes. But let's say it comes out cold like the Xbox One. Like that.
Okay.
Then I can see Sony doing exactly what Microsoft's doing right now, where it's like doubling. Like right now, Microsoft's like you can play any exclusive released after 2015. Like, you buy it, you get the PC version also.
Well, but Microsoft was also predominantly like a PC company anyway, so
but like
that makes sense. Sony's not.
But like that's a big feature. Like that's huge, especially for especially for someone like me who like I prefer playing on PC, but I would like have a lot of friends who own Xboxes. I would like rather play it on Xbox.
Right, and I'm not here to downplay the idea that you like, or like the idea that that's huge, because I definitely think that's a very big, like, impressive thing. My whole entire take on that is that, like, first of all, Windows is owned by Microsoft, so is the Xbox. They both run on similar operating systems. Like, all that shit makes sense to me that they would have cross compatibility. Sony is its own entity with its own, like, with its own situations, and intellectual properties in general work on a very different scale than the way that hardware works.
I am saying though, if like Sony has like a bad enough launch at like Xbox and by a weird now extent PC,
like they signed some sort of deal.
Yeah,
with
like
them.
they're like, well, we need help, and
Yeah, but I don't see them turning to Microsoft for that.
It's either that or they would need to do something like really big and start paying for third parties, like because if everything is on Xbox and PC, and then like there's not, don't sell enough.
I think about it this way. I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but I think about it this way. Like the PS3 had a pretty shit launch. And the PS3 was notoriously difficult to develop for, and Sony's still around and they still have all their IPs. That's why I'm saying like IP is like it works differently than your regular the intellectual property of Sony. I don't ever see us getting a God of War on Xbox.
No,
or like a Ratchet again, like that.
I don't see that unless
Sony completely stops making consoles.
Or
that's the only way.
Or enough of the consumer base doesn't give a shit.
If God of War launches terribly. Well,
yeah,
but at that rate, normally they just stop making them in general.
Yeah. And I think that how many games this generation are third party, the biggest ones.
Pretty much. Well,
most. You can play a lot. There's a lot of PS4 exclusives.
Well, but again,
all
it's kind of always. It's been like that since I think, or I would say since Sega stopped doing consoles. It's
since very much 360. GameCube,
well, even
PS2, Xbox had a lot of it, but it really got that way with the 360.
Yeah, for sure, but
it was very much
Well, yeah, but again, I don't know. We're not even talking about IPs anymore.
Right.
That's just third-party development, intellectual property that belongs to Sony versus Microsoft versus Nintendo is a completely different story.
And I'm saying that those IPs, I had this conversation with Thomas a lot. I don't think that those exclusives sell as many consoles as people think. And we actually did look up the sales numbers in a podcast episode.
They probably don't.
But
if anything, that supports my argument though that I just don't see a situation where the IPs are, because if they're already not pushing consoles, then they're never going to be the driving factor behind.
Very few do at least.
Well,
Gran Turismo
besides
does.
Nintendo's its own.
Yeah,
they don't even factor into this conversation.
Yeah, Nintendo's
really.
in their own little world, man.
Their IPs are always going to be their IPs.
They're Disney, man. They're with money.
Well, that was the other situation I was going to bring up was Disney owning Marvel and Star Wars and all of these other major things. The only other film studio out there that has the intellectual property to fight Disney in terms of financial success is Warner Brothers with DC and Harry Potter. And even then, DC... Well, no, Harry Potter, do not fucking, even begin to question the financial shit that... Even DC, the movies aren't financially unsuccessful. Justice League is the biggest flop they've had so far, and that still raked in $600 million. That's a fucking lot. That's a lot of money.
How much they spent making those? No question about that.
They spent a lot to make Justice League, but never do the box office numbers take into consideration. And this is one of the most.
I know exactly what you're about to say. It's what made Kevin Smith's career.
DVD
and Blu-ray and merch.
Not even that. Well, okay, yes. So this is the biggest thing that nobody takes into consideration when they talk about the amount of money a movie made. Every major blockbuster film that's even remotely financially viable, their box office figures are fucking dwarfed by merch, specifically merch, but by merch and tie-ins and DVD sales.
DVD is definitely part of that merch pie.
Yes and no. It's not as big a situation nowadays. But definitely I mean, when Kevin Smith made his name off of it, it was 100% the DVD sales for sure. So that was largely word of mouth. His situation is weird. He's kind of the Nintendo outlier in that. His career is super weird, and it's an anomaly that'll fucking never happen to anyone again. But or it's happening to everyone at the same time. It'll never happen to anyone the way it happened to him, but it kind of anybody who's making their name now in filmmaking
is doing it his way.
Yeah, he kind of paved the way for it. He and a few others
went $35,000 a day.
There was like a generation of like filmmakers in the early 90s that were like independent filmmakers, completely disparate of each other, that are like somewhere weirdly similar to like Spielberg and George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, in that like those three were all fucking like, they went to school together and they learned how to make movies together and are all like super close friends. Completely disparate in terms of the kinds of movies they make, and that like Spielberg's known for his big adventures, like Coppola's known for his adult dramas, George Lucas is known for shit.
Star Wars.
Well, he made like a Star Wars movie and then 3 really bad Star Wars movies.
Also, he made a good Star Wars movie and then like a okay one and then 2 really awful ones.
I don't even think that prequels are bad movies, but that's like my own. I think Episode 2 is probably the worst Star Wars movie.
Episode 2 is fucking fire.
I don't even think it's a bad movie. I just think it's a bad Star Wars movie. I think like as a film, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just like the worst thing about the prequels is that you don't give a shit about anything that's happening in them.
That's a pretty like damning thing for a film.
For a Star Wars movie, I don't think for
like a film in general, like.
But they're
for something that's supposed to captivate and entertain you, like you know.
Okay, so the thing about that is that a film. The biggest shortcoming for Star Wars, for the Star Wars prequels, wasn't necessarily that I didn't give a shit about what was happening so much as it was that I didn't give a shit about the characters, and anything that happened to the characters just didn't matter to me because I already knew what was going to happen. Like, yeah, that's the problem with all prequels in general. Like, you can't build suspense on Batman Begins.
There's
knowing
more suspense
that
in this race.
there is, yeah. You can't build suspense on Batman Begins knowing that Batman is going to win and that it's called Batman Begins. Like, the title of that movie kind of fucks it up from the get-go. And I love Batman Begins. Out of the Nolan trilogy, Batman Begins to me is the best one. I think it's a fucking phenomenal film. Not even a phenomenal Batman film, just like a fucking solid film. And its title betrays any suspense that it tries to put out. You know what I mean? It doesn't make you... You already know where Batman's gonna end up, so you shouldn't even give a shit.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, but like, it's also like, it's the Orange movie, so it's not like it's not...
Well, yeah, but I guess that's my whole point, is like, by labeling something or branding something as an origin movie, you inherently like, ruin any sort of investment an audience can have in it, you know? Like, that was the biggest problem with The Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, was that we fucking knew the story already. And we didn't need to be told the story again. We had just been told the story less than 10 years prior to that movie coming out.
I have a lot of problems with The Amazing Spider-Man beyond that.
As someone who watches those movies relatively regularly, I don't see as many of the problems that people have with them as problems. I think you can find just as many problems in other movies that people give a pass on. I don't know. For me, like, watching movies has very much become a thing of just juxtaposition. I hear people bitch a lot about certain movies and then not about others. So my quest as a student of film, I guess, is to figure out why certain movies get a pass and other movies don't.
I think that there's a cultural, we call it zeitgeist around like certain films.
I agree.
In the way that perceive.
I fucking hardcore agree. That's one of my biggest arguments against The Dark Knight is like, how much of it is like the fact that the movie is just a good movie versus like how much of it is like being there when it can't. It's the same with the Avengers. How much of that movie? Look, Avengers still holds up, still great flick, but like it's an okay flick.
A big part of that, I really love that movie. But anyway, back to what I was saying about it though, and like seeing them pull it off,
right?
Like them do these separate movies, and then like pulled off that. Because I've never been done before.
At risk of sounding mildly disrespectful, how much of The Dark Knight was the hype around the film versus the film itself? Because I've seen the movie a million and one fucking times.
I went into that movie being very pessimistic and thinking it was gonna suck.
Okay, again, like, that's a very anecdotal experience versus,
True,
like,
true.
the overall, like you said.
Most people heard like a lot of praise and hype about it.
Well,
I went into that movie thinking Heath Ledger's Joker looked fucking stupid.
Everybody did. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, the zeitgeist of that movie largely was Heath Ledger died and this is his final performance. Thinking like, well, because he got the fucking Oscar for it, and he was the first actor to get an Oscar posthumously in, I think, 70 years at that point. So many people speculated that it was just because he had died that year, and there was so much media buzz surrounding his death and his portrayal as the Joker.
That I agree with. I'm saying that, like...
Well, okay, so...
I'm going from a more personal opinion standpoint.
I know, yeah, but for me, I'm
you're
arguing, like, I'm not arguing, anecdote. I'm arguing,
You're arguing, once again, we'll go back to the cultural...
The actual, like, impact the movie had on it and how much of that was... Because, again, like, with the Avengers, it was like... You know, I can talk all I want about how, like, I like the movie, but I don't love it as a film. For them to pull off this universe. Yeah, I was there in the movie theater. I fucking was like just as hyped about it as any other jackass sitting in there as a comic fan, as a film fan, as a
giant man children,
as a fucking as a man child. I had like a fucking paper Thor helmet on that day. You know, I was fucking the first in line for that shit. Like
wore my Iron Man hoodie.
Yeah. Again, like. Anecdotal evidence aside, like, I very much think that a lot of the movies, I very much think we don't, people don't view movies as a personal thing anymore so much as they do, like, as a pop culture thing.
And I think games are very similar in the sense that we've had the Ocarina of Time Final Fantasy discussion a million times.
I think Horizon Zero Dawn is one of these games that we're going to talk about in this. On a personal level,
neither of us are super big fans of it.
Yeah, we're not super big fans of it, but there's a lot of hype surrounding it.
Yeah, like I remember, like I was surprised how much traction it got during our Game of the Year debates.
Oh, I was surprised how much traction it got just fucking looking at the Facebook feed and seeing how many people thought that it deserved it over Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey.
Are on drugs.
Yeah. I didn't even play Mario Odyssey, and I can tell you, like, firsthand, like, I don't have anything wrong. I don't have any personal grudge against Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a fine game.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I finished it.
Yeah, I don't
have time to finish games I think are shit.
I would just describe it as unremarkable. It's not anything. It doesn't do anything like special.
So like, here was my take on it. Like, I think a lot of parts of it aren't well put together. Yeah. But I think it is a visually stunning game, especially when I was playing on the Pro.
Yeah, it looks really good.
When they're super sampled.
Really good looking.
I think that the fights against the giant robot dinosaurs are fucking amazing, and some of the best things in all video games. I think that, and I also think that the story twist is really neat.
Right.
I think Ray likes it a little too much, but whatever. We had that debate during Game of the Year.
I consider it to be one of those games where, like, yes, there's a lot of hype about it, and the sum is worth all of its parts, but the thing I keep going back to is, like, it's not as if there aren't other games out there that don't do the same thing better.
Yeah.
You know, and Breath of the Wild is the kind of game where, yeah, it's, you know, a lot of its execution is very creative and original, but, like, definitely, like, it as in itself as a game isn't necessarily the most creative or original thing in the world.
Let's put it this way with Horizon. We do personal top 10 lists every year.
Yeah.
I did not make that.
Yeah.
Like, I found 10 games.
It wouldn't have made mine either.
I found 10 games, and quite frankly, when I was lowering it down, I found up to 13 games that I enjoyed more than Horizon.
Yeah.
The top 5 were easy with Mario, Nier, Night in the Woods, Persona, and Zelda. Yakuza.
Right.
And then from there, it's like Sonic, Splatoon, you know, like there's a bunch of stuff.
This last year was a fucking great year for Nintendo. Can we?
It was a great year in general.
It was a great year in general, but like Nintendo went from being like, are they gonna be around to fucking
like
praise Nintendo, you know, which happens. It happens to Nintendo.
Versus like, but like you look at that year as a whole, like you look at the differences in the 60-minute accesses at the beginning of last year versus the beginning of this year.
Right.
Last year we had Zelda, Horizon, Neo, Resident Evil, Yakuza 0, etc. And
This year we're doing a lot of ports.
And this year we're doing a lot of games from the mid-2000s.
We're doing a lot of. This is the third fucking remaster that we've played this year, I think.
Yeah, like we're doing
It's a lot of remasters and fighters.
A lot of remasters, a lot of fighting games, a lot of like.
Granted, every fighting game we've done has been fucking awesome.
Yeah, true.
Like Dissidia is probably lowest of the list right now, and that's still a fun game.
Yeah, still quality experience. But like, none of those games kind of like hang with like Neo or Zelda or like any of those.
Yeah, you mean Nier?
Well, no, I do mean Nier also, but like Neo is a great
Right.
game as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that Ninja Dark Souls.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Samurai Dark Souls.
Samurai Dark Souls, yeah.
The game is sweet.
Yeah.
The game is really cool. It's
I
like,
completely forgot about it. It is a cool game.
my only real problem with that game is the time in which it came out is like I'm currently burnt out on that kind of style of game.
You've had a pretty burnout experience on it.
Okay, we'll finish this event and do it 360.
Yeah. We had, this is very tangential. The problem with doing like these fucking remaster 60-minute accesses is that like for the most part like we played these games before, so it's hard to talk about them as a new experience. But
yeah, like my thoughts on this is like, yep, still one of the best games I've ever played. Like,
Right.
Prettier.
that's all you really can do.
Like,
you know.
it's prettier and like it's $40 on Xbox One and PS4.
Damn fucking good price.
PC version isn't out yet. It has all the DLC.
I know a lot of people who would pay $60 for this.
I would.
Yeah.
People buy this, please.
Yeah.
Please buy this.
People will. I think people will. I don't think it'll be like Shadow of the Colossus big in terms of remaster.
No, that's them redoing the whole fucking game.
Right, and then on top of that, like Shadow of the Colossus on the PS2 is like insanely rare,
Yeah, it's like a cult classic.
and now it's like insanely accessible.
Yeah, like now you can play it on PS3. You can play it. Whoa,
That's pretty dope.
that was all right. Oh fuck,
That was pretty cool.
you would be dead. There's
Yeah.
no way you are not dead.
Well, it's a good thing your car doesn't have a fucking driver in it.
Yeah, ghost car. Ghost car.
Hooray!
Alright, we're gonna go boot.
Ghost ride the whip.
Let's go exit here.
Event.
Boot
Here's a
this
tip for you.
360 version.
Drive a tougher car. Just
So yeah, gonna.
Anyway, no, we've had a lot of discussions on this episode.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
very few of which had anything to do with
Burnout.
But I mean, yeah, look, even the fucking menu, like already, like right off the bat, the loading screen looks like shit.
I will say that oh yeah, the old 360 boot. There you go.
It looks like an old 360. It's like I cannot tell if they've actually like downscaled it just because it's on the Xbox One.
They try and upscale what they can.
Yeah.
I love how you can still like that 720p artifacting on the 1080p TV.
Yeah. No, I
Nice.
can't even like.
Hold on, let's see if I do this yet.
I'm trying to actively remember.
Yeah, buddy. Oh yeah, there we go.
Do you remember Windows 8 before it was Windows 8?
I do.
Yeah.
Do you see my creepy 360 bunny logo?
Is that Five Nights at Freddy's?
That is Amped 3. That's a game
It's the same game, right?
No. That's a game I need to show you. You would probably get a kick out of it.
Probably.
It's weird as hell.
I like weird shit. Everybody who knows me knows I like weird and cryptic and dark.
Yeah, okay. You probably like Amped 3.
Look at all this. Look at that fucking up in the upper right corner. That clock.
Look at them pushing that DLC. Like, hey man.
They taught us how to make that clock in like graphics class in high school, like an introduction to Photoshop bullshit.
Alright, so I'm way further in this version. No surprise.
Oh my god, the blurring. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Enjoy this at
Enjoy this at this nice crispy 720p even.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that like 360 looked this bad. I knew about like the like CGI models clipping and shit when like they broke.
Oh. Ooh,
It's fucking
baby.
it's fucking night and day. It is night and day.
Ooh, baby.
Does it play on the at 4K on the X? Is it like native 4K or is it?
Yeah, so like the remastered version is 4K and it's downsampling for our TV, so it's like it's all 4K assets run at 720p.
Yeah.
All X games do that. This game, I believe, runs native at 720 and is being upscaled to 1080.
Which never looks great.
Well, yeah, that's all games from that generation, though. Most games don't run at native 1080. But we'll drive around, do an event or two.
We are already at 1 hour and 5 minutes.
We can go a little long. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to give people a real taste of the city.
This makes me like. Every time you look back on games like this, it like, because fucking my childhood memories of Ocarina of Time don't look nearly as fucking bad as the game does. You know, or even Mario 64. Like, I remember that game being like mind blowing. Not necessarily because of how great it looked, but because of how like, how great it looked. Like, it didn't look real, but it looked like
this.
Yeah. Well, again, like I remember the trailers for this and like the
Vizio signs.
The reflections on the car, I remember specifically like blowing me away.
Like there's just so
now
much
there's like
shit.
none.
Like this, I can't get over how bad the textures are. Like,
Yeah.
Like or just the filtering. Like everything has jaggies.
Yeah, it's
like, it legit looks like
I gotta kind of wonder like if the actual like Xbox 360's like Burnout Paradise
it does
really looks this bad.
These emulators make it run better.
Right, but I'm wondering how that affects like the graphic fidelity.
It makes it go up. It makes it better.
I know, but I don't know.
Like
it's like playing Nintendo games on the SNES Classic versus the Super Nintendo. Like, yeah, it's upscaled to 1080p, but the actual games look better than they do the classic version.
I mean, like, so Digital Foundry tested that. Like,
did they?
Yeah, like it does look as good, if not better, on a.
Interesting. I guess it is kind of different too, because you're not playing on. Because with the SNES Classic, it's like an emulator.
Yeah, like
and it's running at 1080p for a 1080p display, but
it's also like it's a game that's like at
the
best,
game's made for
240p.
Right, and the games are made for CRT, and the CRT definitely affects the like picture quality.
Yeah, versus
you can't play like a Super Nintendo on a flat screen TV and expect it to look good.
Versus this, where it's like this was made in 2007. 2008 or 720p televisions.
Right.
Or if you were really high end, it was going to upscale to 720p and it's 1080.
Right.
Like,
which nobody was. Nobody could afford that.
I had a 1080p set in 2009.
But it was that one of us had money.
But I had a job, bro. Like I was in
2009. I was 16. Yeah, I had a job too.
Yeah, like. I was in high school and had a job, which basically means you have the money of a prince.
Yeah. No, I had a banner waving job. I was like 16 at that point, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I was working for my grandfather's company.
I remember 2009 as the year Dragon Ball Evolution came out because Dragon Ball was dead, but I was still so fucking invested in that franchise. I was like the only one. I'd be the loser, like, going to Toys R Us because I heard that they had like 1 or 2 Dragon Ball Z toys. Like Bandai had released their like weird line of like 4-inch
look at the mountains.
figures.
Jesus.
Yeah, they don't look so good.
Yeah,
I don't know though. The game it still doesn't look bad.
Yeah, but
it's just because
the
we went from like
dark.
It's very different.
The big one for me though is still the anti-aliasing. Like everything on that Xbox One X 4K port is like
It's
clean and
it's
sharp
crisp, yeah.
and no jaggies. And you go to this and it's like looks like someone smeared Vaseline on the screen.
You know what else I'm noticing? Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention, but this one has a lot more motion blur than the 4K version or the X version.
Also, the trees look very flat.
They do, yeah, they do.
Hey everyone.
I think we've talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Motion blur fucking pisses me off in games.
It depends on how much and what it is. Like, I think it works great in Doom.
I remember the first time I played Gears of War, it pissed me off because I was like, it made me nauseous.
I want to get in here, see ya.
I actually hate it in Uncharted 4. I hate it in Uncharted 4. I can't stand how much motion blur is in that game, but there's a lot about that game that it, like, feels so wrong.
Alright, so...
Also, like, the fact that it's the only game... It's like, or it's the only piece of media that's like got an A right in the middle of it, and they didn't use the 4 for the A in the logo is like a little weird to me. Couldn't be unforted.
Let me tell you the worst one of those though.
Fan-4-stick?
No. It's a missed opportunity. Splatoon.
Also, Transformers.
God, we're so good at this.
That did not happen. That didn't fucking happen.
So we're gonna.
It happened with Fan-4-stick.
So we're gonna uninstall this.
60-minute access of Bronson Rage deletes games.
And this is the rest of my Xbox games. Catherine's great.
Good shit.
Halo's
Good
great.
shit.
Red
Pac-Man classic.
Pac-Man Championship Edition. We'll do a 6-minute access that one day.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
That'd be cool.
You need to see it.
I have seen the Championship Edition, just not the DX Plus.
Oh, dude.
I used to have the Championship Edition on Xbox 360.
We'll do that someday.
Did you ever get the Earthworm Jim port on
the
the 360? Not. I loved it.
You can actually hold on.
Can you buy it? Can you actually like?
You can probably, but these are all my Xbox games.
Contra, fuck yeah.
That I don't have installed.
God damn it. Contra's dank. Oh shit. Lego Star Wars. Not the complete saga, by the way. A bold-faced lie. The complete saga for the time. Let's see. Perfect Dark Zero is always pretty Gucci. Saints Row 4 is fucking still one of my favorite sandbox shooters, I guess. Like Grand Theft Auto types.
I love Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs is cool.
Underrated.
Sonic 2, definitely an underrated classic. Nobody ever talks about Sonic 2.
No one ever talks about Sonic 2 ever. Soul Calibur 1.
Sonic Adventure does not age at all.
No, not
It
at
is
all.
disgusting looking now. But for its time, it was fucking...
That whale scene, dude, in 99? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude. Just seeing Sonic run around on a 3D plane was like so fucking like delicious. And now it's like it turns stomachs. Whenever people think of like 3D Sonic games, they're like, oh.
It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, Sonic. Ugh.
That was a good retching noise.
Anyway, everyone, we'll be back next week with Yakuza 6.
Yeah, we're gonna be fucking
asses.
people up for money.
Yep. Just like real life.
Right, that's what we definitely do for a living.
That's what we do. We just beat the shit out of people for no money.
Sometimes I wish we had face cam.
Sometimes
I wish we had face cam.
Sometimes I do, and then other times I'm like, I really don't want to like...
Like 90% of the time, Bronson doesn't actually laugh. He just like breathes really heavily. He just like exhales really sharply whenever he like laughs. So... like Ray or I will say a joke and it'll definitely fucking land, but Bronson won't make any noise, so it just like sounds like radio silence.
That's what you want it for?
Yeah, that's what I want it for, so that people know that I'm funny.
You need the confirmation.
I need the validation.
Oh my god! All right.
Because I'll laugh at my own. Because then it sounds like I'm laughing at my own jokes, and you're definitely laughing with me. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine.
He's not salty about it.
No, why would I be?
Alright, we'll be next week. Everyone. Bye.
Bye.
We love you.